Confidence isn't luck. It isn't genetics. It isn't something some people are born with and others never get. Confidence is self-belief in motion. And whether you realize it or not, every decision you've ever made, every risk you've taken, every dream you've chased or abandoned, was shaped by the level of confidence you had in that moment. Confidence is the foundation of achievement, the root of courage, the source of inner power. But here's the truth. Most people don't lack intelligence or potential. They lack belief. They underestimate themselves. They talk themselves down. They shrink, hesitate, and wait for permission that never comes. This audiobook is here to change that. Through psychology, mindset, emotional mastery, and identity rewiring, you'll learn exactly how to build confidence from the inside out. Not fake confidence, not ego, real confidence, the kind that stays steady even when life shakes you. Because when you master self-belief, you become unstoppable. Chapter 1. What confidence really is. Confidence is self-trust, believing you can handle whatever comes. It's built through action, not thinking. Real confidence is quiet. Insecurity is loud. Confidence grows through repeated exposure to challenges. It's a skill you build daily, not a gift you wait for. Confidence is often misunderstood. Many people think it's something you're born with, a personality trait, an innate quality, a natural charisma available only to a chosen few. But this belief is one of the biggest myths that keeps people stuck. Confidence is not a personality trait. It's a psychological skill. It's something you build, strengthen, and practice over time. And the moment you understand this truth, you unlock the power to transform your life. At its deepest level, confidence is self-trust. It's the inner belief that no matter what happens, no matter what challenge appears, no matter what uncertainty shows up, you can handle it. Confidence does not mean you know everything or that you will win every time. It means you trust your ability to navigate whatever comes your way. You trust your adaptability. You trust your resilience. You trust your effort. You trust your growth. This is why the most confident people you meet are not necessarily the smartest or most talented. They're the ones who trust themselves to figure it out. Confidence is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward despite fear. It is the quiet internal voice that says, "I'll handle it," even when the outcome is unknown. But here's the key. Confidence is built through action, not thinking. You cannot think yourself into confidence. You cannot talk yourself into confidence. You cannot affirm your way into it without action to back it up. Confidence grows from repeated experiences where you show yourself, through action, that you can do difficult things. Every time you act, even while afraid, you build proof, internal evidence, that strengthens your self-belief. This is why people who overthink often struggle with confidence. Overthinking paralyzes action. But without action, the subconscious receives no evidence of growth, meaning confidence has nothing to build upon. The mind needs proof, and proof comes from doing, not just contemplating. Each step you take, each decision you make, each challenge you face, these are the things that build confidence brick by brick. Another powerful truth is that real confidence is quiet. Insecurity is loud. Confident people don't need to announce themselves. They don't need to dominate conversations or seek approval. Their presence speaks because their inner world is grounded. They don't need external validation because they already trust themselves. Their calmness is their strength. Insecure people, on the other hand, often rely on exaggeration, attention, overcompensation, or defensiveness. They speak loudly, not because they are strong, but because they are unsure. Their insecurity drives them to prove something outwardly that they don't feel inwardly. This is why confidence and insecurity are often reversed in the way they appear. Confidence whispers, insecurity shouts. But don't mistake quiet for weak. Quiet confidence is one of the most powerful forces you can embody. It is steady, controlled, and undeniable. It doesn't need to show off because it already knows its worth. Understanding how confidence grows is essential. Confidence grows through repeated exposure to challenges. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to strengthen your inner power. You don't become confident by avoiding difficulty. You become confident by facing it. You don't become strong by staying comfortable. You become strong by stepping into discomfort. Each time you stretch your limits, you expand your self-image. Each time you survive a challenge, you teach your mind that you are capable. Growth happens at the edge of discomfort. What feels terrifying today will feel normal tomorrow if you expose yourself to it consistently. Confidence is literally formed through micro-stress, the small daily acts of courage that accumulate and reshape your identity. Every challenge you take on becomes a building block. Every time you step forward instead of shrinking back, you strengthen the foundation of who you are. This is why confident people aren't fearless, they're practiced. They have simply exposed themselves to more experiences, taken more risks, and survived more uncertainty. They didn't wait for fear to disappear. They acted first, and confidence followed. And that leads to the most important truth of all. Confidence is a skill you build daily, not a gift you wait for. People who wait to feel confident someday stay stuck forever. Confidence doesn't arrive as a magical moment. It doesn't suddenly appear when the conditions are perfect. It grows slowly through repeated daily choices, through small actions like starting before you feel ready, speaking up even if your voice shakes, learning a new skill even if you fear mistakes, doing the right thing even if it's uncomfortable, showing up consistently even when motivation is low. Every day is a chance to practice confidence, not in big dramatic ways, but in small intentional moments. Confidence is built like a muscle. Practice strengthens it. Avoidance weakens it. Most importantly, confidence isn't about feeling amazing all the time. It's about trusting yourself even when you don't. Some of the most confident people in the world still experience fear, doubt, or uncertainty. But they don't let those feelings stop them. They decide based on identity, not insecurity. Confidence also grows when you stop comparing yourself to others. Comparison steals your self-belief by highlighting your weaknesses and ignoring your strengths. Confidence comes from measuring your progress against your past self, not someone else's present. It comes from celebrating small wins, acknowledging growth, and recognizing your own potential. Ultimately, confidence is a relationship, the relationship you have with yourself. It grows each time you keep a promise to yourself, each time you follow through, each time you choose courage over comfort. Confidence is not something you are. It's something you become through repeated practice. Confidence is self-trust. Self-trust is built through action. Action creates proof. Proof becomes belief. Belief becomes identity. Identity becomes confidence. Confidence is not destiny. It is a daily decision. And the moment you start choosing yourself, you begin building unshakable confidence from the inside out. Chapter 2. The Psychology of Self-Belief. Beliefs shape behavior. Your identity drives your actions. You can't outperform the self-image you hold. Positive beliefs strengthen emotional resilience. Confidence begins with choosing a new internal narrative. The brain reinforces whatever story you tell consistently. Self-belief is not a luxury. It is the psychological core of confidence. It determines how you think, how you act, how you respond to challenges, and ultimately, how far you allow yourself to go in life. Many people try to change their outcomes without changing their inner narrative, but true transformation begins within. Your beliefs are the blueprint of your behavior. Beliefs shape behavior. Your identity drives your actions. What you believe about yourself directly influences the choices you make each day. If you believe you are capable, you take action. If you believe you are unworthy, you hesitate. If you believe challenges are opportunities, you face them. If you believe you always fail, you avoid trying. Identity comes before behavior. Thought comes before action. Belief comes before confidence. Self-belief is the invisible force guiding every visible outcome. When you view yourself as someone who follows through, you act accordingly. When you see yourself as someone who always messes up, your actions mirror that too. This is why the internal identity you carry, the story you hold about who you are, determines your emotional strength, your performance, your resilience, and your confidence. You can't outperform the self-image you hold. This is one of the deepest psychological truths. No matter how talented, intelligent, skilled, or hardworking you are, you will sabotage any goal that does not align with your internal identity. If you believe, even subconsciously, that you're not good enough, not smart enough, not disciplined enough, not worthy enough, your mind will pull you back to match that belief. You will procrastinate, self-doubt, or shrink yourself without even realizing why. The mind always acts in alignment with its dominant identity. If the identity is weak, the confidence will be weak. If the identity is strong, the confidence will be strong. This is why building confidence requires more than just motivation. It requires a new self-image. You must update the internal story you tell yourself. You must redefine who you think you are. Your beliefs also influence your emotional resilience. Positive beliefs strengthen emotional resilience. When you believe you can handle difficulty, setbacks no longer crush you. They teach you. When you believe you are capable, challenges feel like training, not threats. When you believe you are worthy, criticism doesn't break you. It becomes feedback. You move through life with steadiness instead of fear. A resilient mind is not one without challenges. It is one that believes in its ability to rise again. Confidence grows from the belief that I will find a way. And when you truly believe that, problems lose their power to intimidate you. But where does this belief come from? It comes from choosing a new internal narrative. Self-belief is a decision before it becomes a feeling. You choose the story. You choose the meaning. You choose the interpretation. Confidence is not built from external validation, but from internal narrative alignment. You must decide to tell yourself a different story, one where you are capable, deserving, and improving. The moment you choose a new narrative, you begin to break old psychological patterns. You shift from I always fail to I can learn this. From I'm not good enough to I can grow. From this is too hard to this is training. The story you choose determines the life you build. And here is where the brain becomes your ally. The brain reinforces whatever story you tell consistently. Your brain is designed to seek coherence. It looks for evidence to support your dominant beliefs, whether those beliefs help you or hurt you. If you repeatedly tell yourself you are destined to fail, your mind will highlight every mistake, every flaw, every doubt, reinforcing the narrative. But if you consistently tell yourself you are improving, adapting, and growing, your mind begins to notice your progress, your strengths, and your wins. The brain rewires itself based on repetition. This is the foundation of neuroplasticity. Your self-belief literally reshapes your thinking patterns and emotional responses. The more you repeat a narrative, the more it becomes your identity, and the more your identity shapes your behavior. You are not stuck with the identity you inherited from childhood, society, or past failures. You have the power to rewrite it. But rewriting requires consistency. You must feed your mind new beliefs until they become automatic. You must talk to yourself more consciously. You must challenge old narratives and replace them with empowering ones. The psychology of self-belief can be summarized in a simple chain. Belief, identity, behavior, results, reinforce belief. This loop can either trap you or transform you. If your beliefs are weak, you create weak results that reinforce weak beliefs. But if your beliefs are strong, you create strong results that reinforce strong beliefs. Confidence begins in the inner world long before it appears in the outer world. It begins with the stories you tell yourself. It begins with the identity you choose to embody. It begins with the belief that you deserve to take up space in your own life. Self-belief is the foundation of unshakable confidence. And the moment you change your internal narrative, you change everything that follows. Chapter 3. How limiting beliefs sabotage you. Limiting beliefs come from childhood, failure, and past fear. The subconscious protects you by avoiding discomfort. Your inner critic is often a borrowed voice, not your own. Identify beliefs beginning with I can't, I'm not, or I'll never. Replace limits with capability-based beliefs through repetition. Limiting beliefs are the invisible chains that hold you back from stepping into your full power. They live deep in the subconscious mind, shaping how you think, feel, and act, often without you realizing it. These beliefs whisper smallness into your thoughts. You're not good enough, you can't do that, this is too hard for you, or you'll only embarrass yourself. And because they come from within, you assume they're true. But they're not truth, they're psychological echoes of past experiences. Limiting beliefs come from childhood, failure, and past fear. Most people don't consciously decide to believe something negative about themselves. These beliefs are formed through early experiences: a critical parent, a discouraging teacher, a painful memory, a moment of embarrassment, or a situation that made you feel powerless. Your young mind interpreted these experiences as identity statements. A childhood insult becomes, I'm not smart. A mistake becomes, I always mess things up. A failure becomes, I can't do difficult things. Over time, these interpretations crystallize into limiting beliefs that follow you into adulthood. Even later in life, failures and fears can shape beliefs. When something painful happens, rejection, a breakup, a public mistake, a financial setback, the mind tries to protect you from feeling that pain again by adopting limiting narratives. Don't try again, don't risk it, stay safe, stay small. These beliefs are your subconscious saying, I'm keeping you from getting hurt. But in trying to protect you, they imprison you. The subconscious protects you by avoiding discomfort. Your subconscious is wired for survival, not success. Its primary job is to reduce risk. Discomfort feels like danger to the primitive mind. So when you start to step outside your comfort zone, your subconscious triggers resistance. It clouds your mind with doubt. It amplifies fear. It creates excuses, not because you're incapable, but because your subconscious thinks staying small keeps you safe. But growth and comfort never exist in the same space. If your subconscious avoids discomfort, it will avoid growth unless you train it differently. Limiting beliefs are a protective mechanism gone too far. They kept you safe once. Now they keep you stuck. Your inner critic is often a borrowed voice, not your own. Many of the self-critical thoughts you carry aren't originally yours. They came from others, parents, siblings, teachers, friends, partners, coworkers. At some point, someone else made you feel small, and your brain adopted their voice as your own. It repeats their doubts long after they've left your life. Think of phrases like, you're not capable. You always mess things up. You're not enough. You should be afraid. These are not self-created beliefs. They were planted in you and repeated until they felt familiar. The inner critic is often an echo from the past, not a reflection of your true potential. When you realize the voice isn't yours, you take back your power. The key to breaking limiting beliefs is awareness. Identify beliefs beginning with I can't, I'm not, or I'll never. These phrases signal psychological blocks. I can't handle pressure. I'm not confident. I can't speak in public. I'm not disciplined enough. I'll never succeed at this. I'll never be good enough. These statements are not facts. They are fears disguised as truths. By identifying them, you bring them out of the shadows. Once seen clearly, limiting beliefs lose much of their power. They no longer operate silently in the background, influencing your decisions without your knowledge. Awareness allows you to challenge, question, and rewrite these beliefs. Ask yourself, who taught me this? Is this belief fact or fear? Does this belief help me or hold me back? What evidence do I have that contradicts this? What would the strongest version of me believe instead? This process begins weakening the limiting narrative and strengthening your true identity. But awareness alone is not enough. To dismantle limiting beliefs, you must build new ones. Replace limits with capability-based beliefs through repetition. The subconscious mind doesn't change from logic, it changes from repetition. You must intentionally feed it new statements that reinforce your potential. I can learn this. I am capable of improving. I can handle discomfort. I can grow through challenges. I deserve success. I am becoming stronger every day. Every time you repeat a capability-based belief and take action aligned with it, you rewire your subconscious. You show your mind new evidence of who you are. Over time, the new belief becomes your dominant identity, and the old limiting one fades. Repetition creates familiarity. Familiarity creates acceptance. Acceptance creates identity. Identity creates behavior. Behavior creates results. This is how you break limiting beliefs, not in one moment, but through repeated daily alignment with who you want to become. Limiting beliefs don't fade because you feel ready. They fade because you act anyway. You replace "I can't" with "I can learn." You replace "I'm not enough" with "I am growing." You replace fear with capability. Bit by bit, your internal narrative shifts. You stop living from the wounds of your past and start living from the strength of your potential. Limiting beliefs sabotage silently, but once exposed, questioned, and replaced, they lose their influence. And when you rewrite those beliefs, you reclaim the power that was always yours. When you change what you believe about yourself, you change what becomes possible for you. Chapter 4. Action is the root of confidence. Confidence grows from small wins, not big achievements. Taking action retrains fear into familiarity. Motion defeats overthinking instantly. Repeated action creates competence. Competence creates confidence. Start small, build momentum. Confidence is not something you wait for. It is something you create, and the raw material that creates it is action. People often believe they need confidence before taking action, but the truth is the opposite. Action produces confidence. The smallest step forward does more for your self-belief than hours of thinking, analyzing, or planning ever will. Confidence grows from small wins, not big achievements. Most people think confidence comes from major accomplishments, the big promotion, the huge success, the impressive milestone. But true confidence is built long before those moments. It grows from small, consistent wins, the tiny decisions you follow through on, the tasks you complete even when you don't feel like it, the promises you keep to yourself. Small wins signal to your mind, I can do this. I follow through. I'm capable. I can trust myself. Each small win deposits a little strength into your self-belief bank, and these deposits accumulate. Eventually, they form a solid foundation that makes you feel more capable, more prepared, and more courageous. You don't need massive victories to build confidence. You need micro-actions repeated daily. This is where action becomes psychological training. Taking action retrains fear into familiarity. Fear thrives in the unknown. Anything you haven't done yet feels dangerous to the primitive brain. Whether it's speaking in public, starting a project, learning a new skill, or stepping into a new role, the unfamiliar triggers anxiety, hesitation, and doubt. But the moment you take action, even a tiny step, the unfamiliar becomes familiar. The brain realizes, oh, this isn't as scary as I imagined. Each time you do something you feared, you reduce the fear by replacing imagination with experience. Over time, fear transforms into comfort. What was once terrifying becomes normal, and that shift happens only through action. Meanwhile, inactivity feeds fear. The longer you wait, the bigger the fear becomes. But the moment you take action, fear loses its grip. This is why motion defeats overthinking instantly. Overthinking exists only in stillness. When you sit still, your mind spins stories, inflates fears, and magnifies doubts. But the moment you start moving, making the call, starting the task, taking the first step, the mental spiral stops. Action shifts your brain from analysis to execution. It shuts down the emotional noise and activates clarity. You can't overthink and take action at the same time. One cancels the other, and action always wins. This momentum is what builds competence. Repeated action creates competence. Competence creates confidence. The more you do something, the better you get at it. Competence is a skill born from repetition. Confidence is the emotional outcome of competence. When you repeat an action, you gain mastery. When you gain mastery, confidence becomes automatic. Think of how you learned to drive, read, or speak. Confidence didn't come first, repetition did. Confidence appeared only after competence took shape through repeated action. This is the formula behind every confident person you admire. They weren't born confident. They practiced until confidence became the natural result of skill. This principle works in every area of life. Repeated workouts build fitness and confidence in your body. Repeated studying builds knowledge and confidence in your intellect. Repeated conversations build social ease and confidence in your presence. Repeated attempts build resilience and confidence in your ability to rise. Confidence is competence accumulated. Competence is repetition accumulated. Repetition is action accumulated. And all of that begins with one small step. Start small, build momentum. People often think they need giant action to change their lives. But giant action is hard to sustain. Small actions, however, are sustainable, repeatable, and powerful. A single tiny step breaks inertia. Another tiny step builds momentum. Another strengthens belief. Before long, these small steps create massive transformation. You don't overcome fear with a leap. You overcome it with footsteps. You don't build confidence with perfection. You build it with progress. You don't become unstoppable overnight. You become unstoppable through daily motion. Start small. One message sent. One page written. One workout started. One skill practiced. One task completed. One fear confronted. Small doesn't mean weak. Small means doable. Small means consistent. Small means transformative. The size of the step doesn't matter. The direction does. Confidence is not a mystery. Confidence is not luck. Confidence is not genetic. Confidence is action repeated until fear fades. In the end, action is the root. Momentum is the path. Confidence is the result. Chapter 5, Rewiring Self-Talk. Your internal voice shapes your emotional reality. Negative self-talk weakens performance and identity. Replace harsh criticism with calm, clear, encouraging instructions. Use I am becoming statements to rewire identity naturally. Speak to yourself like someone you want to see win. Your self-talk is one of the most powerful psychological forces shaping your life. It is the internal dialogue that runs beneath your thoughts, the constant stream of words, interpretations, judgments, and assumptions you whisper to yourself all day long. Most people don't realize this, but your self-talk is the foundation of your emotional world. Your internal voice shapes your emotional reality. It influences how you feel about yourself, how you act, how you recover from setbacks, and how you navigate challenges. When the internal voice is supportive, clear, and grounded, it produces confidence, resilience, and emotional stability. But when the internal voice becomes harsh, negative, or critical, it creates doubt, fear, hesitation, and insecurity. That voice becomes a prison, one that convinces you that you're incapable long before life ever gets the chance to test you. This is why negative self-talk is so destructive. Negative self-talk weakens performance and identity. Your brain believes what you repeatedly tell it. If the dominant message running through your mind is, "I'm not good enough," "I always fail," "I can't do this," or "nobody respects me," your actions will automatically align with those beliefs. You will shrink. You will hesitate. You will avoid challenges. You will sabotage opportunities. Negative self-talk doesn't just make you feel bad. It rewires your identity into something smaller. Your internal voice becomes your internal world, and your internal world becomes your external results. The difficult part is that negative self-talk often sounds familiar. It may mirror the voices you heard growing up: critical parents, strict teachers, judgmental peers. Over time, those external voices become your internal voice, and you begin treating yourself the way others once treated you. But this voice is not you. It is a habit, a pattern, a conditioning, and like any habit, it can be reshaped. The first step is replacing harsh criticism with calm, clear, encouraging instructions. Confidence doesn't grow from shouting at yourself. It grows from guiding yourself. When you face difficulty, instead of saying, "Why can't you do anything right?" shift to, "Okay, breathe. What's the next step?" Instead of, "You're going to mess this up, try." You've handled challenges before. Take it one thing at a time. Instead of, "You're not capable, try." You're learning. Keep going. Encouraging self-talk is not about empty positivity. It is about leadership. You are leading your own mind the way a great coach would lead an athlete. Not with criticism that crushes, but with instruction that strengthens. Criticism activates fear. Calm direction activates capability. This shift in language immediately affects your nervous system. Harsh self-talk spikes anxiety. Supportive self-talk creates clarity. When you speak to yourself with steadiness, your body relaxes, your focus sharpens, and your decision-making improves. You perform better because you feel safer internally. This is where identity statements come into play. Use "I am becoming" statements to rewire identity naturally. Instead of forcing yourself to adopt unrealistic affirmations like, "I am confident," when you don't feel confident, use identity statements that reflect progress, not perfection. "I'm becoming more confident every day." "I'm becoming more disciplined." "I'm becoming someone who follows through." "I'm becoming calmer under pressure." "I'm becoming stronger, clearer, and more capable." "I am becoming" statements work because they align with the brain's natural learning process. The mind resists lies, but it embraces growth. When you use growth-based self-talk, you create a bridge between who you are now and who you want to become. This makes change feel believable, and what feels believable becomes achievable. Over time, these identity statements shift your subconscious programming. They create a new internal reference point. You stop identifying with your past. You start identifying with your potential. You stop reinforcing insecurity. You start reinforcing growth. This shift in identity transforms how you respond to life. When you see yourself as someone who is becoming stronger, you act accordingly. The final principle of rewiring self-talk is simple yet life-changing. Speak to yourself like someone you want to see win. You would never speak to a loved one the way you sometimes speak to yourself. You would never tell your child, your friend, or your partner, "You will fail," "You're not enough," or "Why do you even try?" You would support them, encourage them, guide them, believe in them. You deserve the same level of compassion and belief. Your mind becomes stronger when it feels supported, not attacked. Your confidence grows when you feel guided, not shamed. Your resilience expands when your internal voice becomes your ally, not your enemy. From this point forward, treat yourself like someone worth believing in. Because you are. Talk to yourself like someone who deserves to rise. Because you do. Support yourself like someone who is capable of becoming unstoppable. Because you are. Rewired self-talk is not a trick. It is a transformation. One sentence at a time. one moment at a time, one choice at a time. Change your self-talk, and you change your identity. Change your identity, and you change your confidence. Change your confidence, and you change your life. Chapter 6. How to Stop Seeking Approval. Approval seeking drains confidence and authenticity. Not everyone's opinion matters. Filter feedback. Build an internal scoreboard. Judge yourself by your standards. People respect those who don't beg for validation. Confidence grows when you stop needing permission. Seeking approval is one of the biggest hidden killers of confidence. It exhausts you emotionally, weakens your identity, and makes you dependent on opinions that change as quickly as the people who express them. Approval seeking is not harmless. It drains your inner strength. It turns your life into a performance rather than a path. And the more you chase validation, the further you drift from your authentic self. At its core, approval seeking drains confidence and authenticity. When you constantly wonder, what will they think? You lose touch with what you think. When you adjust your personality to fit others, you disconnect from your true identity. When you act to impress instead of express, your confidence begins to crack. Confidence can only grow on a foundation of authenticity. You cannot feel strong while pretending to be someone you are not. Approval seeking also creates emotional instability. If your self-worth depends on how others see you, then every comment, reaction, or opinion becomes a threat. One compliment lifts you up. One criticism destroys you. You live on a psychological roller coaster controlled by other people's moods. True confidence requires breaking free from this dependence, not by rejecting people, but by reclaiming your power from their judgments. And here's the truth. Not everyone's opinion matters. Filter feedback. The world is full of voices, but not all voices deserve a place in your mind. Some people criticize out of insecurity. Some project their fears onto you. Some judge without understanding. Some simply aren't qualified to guide you. Yet approval seekers treat every opinion as equal, and this is where the damage begins. You must learn to filter feedback by asking, is this person living the life I want? Do they understand my path? Are they offering insight or just noise? Is their opinion rooted in wisdom or insecurity? When you apply these filters, most judgments dissolve. You stop absorbing random opinions like emotional toxins. You start protecting your mental space. You become selective about whose voice you allow to shape your direction. Confidence also grows when you shift from external measurement to internal measurement. This means creating something essential, an internal scoreboard. Judge yourself by your standards. External validation is unstable, but internal standards are powerful. When you decide what success looks like, effort, discipline, growth, courage, your confidence stops fluctuating based on others. You take back control. Your internal scoreboard might include, did I show up today? Did I do the work? Did I act with integrity? Did I grow, even a little? Did I make decisions aligned with my values? When you live by your own standards, approval becomes unnecessary. You no longer need others to confirm your worth because you confirm it yourself. This shift changes how people see you too. People respect those who don't beg for validation. Approval seekers repel respect because desperation is unattractive. But those who stand firm in who they are, without pleading for approval, naturally earn admiration. You've probably noticed that the most confident people aren't the loudest. They're the ones who don't flinch at judgment. They don't try to impress. They don't scramble for attention. They don't react to every opinion. They simply live aligned with themselves, and people respect that energy. When you stop begging for validation, several things happen. People take you more seriously. You become harder to manipulate. You stop shrinking to fit expectations. Your relationships become healthier and more balanced. You project strength instead of neediness. Confidence is magnetic, but it cannot coexist with approval addiction. In the end, the deepest truth is this. Confidence grows when you stop needing permission. Permission to speak. Permission to try. permission to dream, permission to be yourself. Approval seekers wait for someone to say yes before they move. Confident people move first. They don't wait for applause. They don't wait for acceptance. They don't wait for the world to agree with them. They give themselves permission, and life expands accordingly. When you stop needing permission, you begin speaking your truth without fear, making decisions aligned with your identity, taking action without second-guessing, walking into rooms without shrinking, living your life instead of performing for others. This independence is the birthplace of unshakable confidence. Approval seeking is a habit, and like any habit, it can be unlearned. Each time you choose authenticity over impressing, you weaken the need for validation. Each time you trust your own judgment, you strengthen self-belief. Each time you filter opinions, you reclaim your inner peace. Each time you act without permission, you build your inner power. Confidence is not about being admired. It's about being secure within yourself. Approval seeking says, "Tell me who I am." Confidence says, "I already know." Chapter 7. Embracing failure as a training tool. Failure is information, not identity. Every mistake builds resilience and wisdom. Confidence requires the willingness to fail without collapsing. Treat failures as experiments, not final outcomes. The confident grow stronger from setbacks instead of retreating. Failure is one of the most misunderstood experiences in human psychology. Most people fear it, hide from it, or run at the first sign of it. But truly confident people don't avoid failure. They use it. They treat it as a training tool, a feedback system, a necessary part of growth. And the moment you shift your relationship with failure, your confidence becomes unshakable. The first truth to internalize is simple. Failure is information, not identity. A failed attempt does not mean you are a failure. It means that something you tried didn't work. That's it. Failure is feedback, data, clarity, not a reflection of your worth. Yet many people fuse failure with identity. They think, "I failed, therefore I am incapable." But confident people separate the two. They see failure as a signal, not a verdict. The moment you stop letting failure define you, you free yourself to grow. Every failure becomes a source of strength when seen correctly. Every mistake builds resilience and wisdom. Failure teaches you what no book, no lecture, no advice can ever match. What works? What doesn't? Where you need to adjust? Where you need to grow? What habits support you? What patterns sabotage you? Failure sharpens awareness. It builds emotional endurance. It stretches your capacity to handle discomfort. It expands your understanding of yourself and your abilities. Wisdom is often hidden inside mistakes, if you're willing to look. But embracing failure requires something deeper, the willingness to fail without collapsing. Confidence is not the absence of fear. It's the willingness to step forward even if you might fall. Insecurity collapses at the first sign of imperfection. It says, "See, this is why I shouldn't try." Confidence says, "Okay, that didn't work. What's the next move?" Confident people don't crumble when things go wrong. They recalibrate. They adjust. They rise again. This resilience, the ability to absorb impact without losing identity, is what separates those who break from those who become unbreakable. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is to treat failures as experiments, not final outcomes. Life is a laboratory, not a courtroom. You're supposed to test ideas, attempt new paths, explore possibilities. Experiments are not meant to be perfect. They are meant to provide clarity. When you see each attempt as an experiment, you remove the emotional pressure. You stop expecting perfection. You stop fearing mistakes. You start learning faster. Experiment mindset sounds like this. I'm going to try this and see what happens. If it doesn't work, I'll adjust. Failure isn't bad. It's data. What can I learn for next time? This emotional neutrality toward failure accelerates confidence more than anything else. It trains your brain to see setbacks as part of the process, not a threat. The ultimate truth is this: the confident grow stronger from setbacks instead of retreating. When insecure people fail, they withdraw, avoid, or quit. Their identity is fragile. Failure feels like proof of inadequacy. When confident people fail, they expand. They look at the failure, extract the lesson, and come back better. They build mental toughness because they've trained the emotional muscle that says, I can take a hit and keep moving. Every setback becomes training for the next challenge. Every fall becomes a rehearsal for resilience. This is why confident people seem unstoppable. Not because they never fall, but because falling no longer threatens their identity. It becomes part of their evolution. When you embrace failure as training, everything changes. Challenges feel exciting instead of frightening. Setbacks feel temporary instead of defining. Mistakes feel useful instead of shameful. Growth feels possible instead of overwhelming. Confidence grows when you stop demanding perfection from yourself. Confidence grows when you see setbacks as stepping stones. Confidence grows when you are brave enough to fail forward. Every time you rise after a fall, you reinforce a powerful identity. I am someone who can handle life. I'm someone who grows through difficulty. I am someone who won't break. Failure, when embraced correctly, becomes the fuel for unshakable confidence. Failure is feedback. Feedback becomes growth. Growth becomes strength. Strength becomes confidence. And that is how you turn every setback into a step upward. Chapter 8. Mastering Body Language. Your posture influences your emotional state instantly. Confident body language communicates competence before you speak. Slow movements signal calm, control. Eye contact builds trust and authority. Your body can train your mind into confidence. Confidence isn't only a mental experience, it's a physical one. Long before you speak, decide, or act, your body is already telling a story, and the world responds to that story instantly. Body language is one of the most powerful psychological tools we have, not just for influencing others, but for influencing ourselves. When you learn to use your body intentionally, you don't just appear more confident, you feel more confident. The connection between body and mind is immediate. Your posture influences your emotional state instantly. Stand tall, open your chest, lift your head, and your mind shifts into a state of presence. Your breathing deepens. Your thoughts become clearer. Your nervous system stabilizes. On the other hand, when you slump, shrink, or tighten your body, your brain interprets your posture as stress or insecurity. Your thoughts become uncertain. Your confidence drops. This is because the body and brain are in constant communication. Posture is not just a reflection of how you feel. It actively shapes how you feel. When your posture becomes confident, your emotional system follows. You communicate strength to your mind before you communicate it to anyone else. And that communication matters because confident body language communicates competence before you speak. People read you within seconds, not by your words, but by your posture, tone, gestures, and presence. A firm stance signals certainty. A relaxed posture signals self-trust. An upright spine signals readiness. Your body language becomes the first impression of your internal world. If your body shows clarity and control, people automatically respond to you with respect, trust, and credibility. This doesn't mean you need to exaggerate or pose. True confident body language is subtle and grounded. It's about alignment, not performance. When your body is balanced, your presence becomes powerful. One of the most underrated elements of body language is pace. Slow movements signal calm, control. Insecure people rush. They move quickly, talk fast, shift nervously, and fidget. This speed signals anxiety. But when you slow your movements, even slightly, you send your nervous system a message. I am safe. I am in control. And people pick up on that energy. Slow, deliberate body actions, from sitting down calmly to walking with steady rhythm, project authority. They show you are not reacting to the world, but responding to it with intention. Leaders move calmly. Confident individuals speak with patience. Even small shifts in timing can elevate your presence dramatically. Another major pillar of confident body language is connection. Eye contact builds trust and authority. Eye contact signals presence, honesty, and strength. When you meet someone's eyes, not aggressively, but steadily, you communicate. I'm here. I'm listening. I'm not intimidated. Avoiding eye contact, on the other hand, sends subconscious messages of insecurity or discomfort. The goal is balance. Enough eye contact to show engagement, with occasional breaks to stay natural. Eye contact strengthens the perception of confidence, but it also builds internal confidence by grounding you in the moment. What many people don't realize is that body language works both ways, outward and inward. Your body can train your mind into confidence. This is where body language becomes life-changing. You don't need to feel confident to start using confident posture. The body leads, the mind follows. When you stand tall, breathe slowly, hold steady eye contact, or relax your shoulders. Your brain receives signals of strength and safety. These signals reduce fear, anxiety, and self-doubt. Your physiology creates your psychology. This is why athletes adjust posture before competing, why leaders settle their body before speaking, why confident people automatically embody presence. Even when you feel unsure, your body can teach your mind a new emotional state. This is the essence of embodied confidence. You're not faking confidence, you're activating it. Mastering body language is not about becoming someone else. It's about unlocking a version of yourself that's already inside you. When your body becomes aligned with confidence, your mind naturally follows. You begin to think more clearly, speak more boldly, act more decisively, and move through life with a grounded sense of inner power. Your body has always held the key. Now it becomes part of your confidence toolkit. Stand tall. Move with calm intention. Use steady eye contact. Relax your shoulders. Open your posture. Lead with presence. Master your body, and you master the message you send to the world, and the message you send to yourself. Chapter 9. Raising your self-image. Self-image determines what you believe you deserve. Upgrade identity. I'm the type of person who visualize the confident version of yourself repeatedly. Identity shifts before behavior does. Treat yourself as worthy. Your mind follows. Your self-image is the internal blueprint that shapes your entire life. It defines what you think you're capable of, what you believe you deserve, and how you show up in the world. You can work harder, set goals, push yourself, and even succeed temporarily. But if your self-image remains small, your confidence will always collapse under pressure. That is why raising your self-image is one of the most powerful steps toward unshakable confidence. Self-image determines what you believe you deserve. You never rise above the level of the identity you hold internally. If your self-image says, "I'm average," you will sabotage opportunities that don't match average. If your self-image says, "I'm not capable," your brain will filter out chances that require capability. If your self-image says, "I'm not worthy," you will unconsciously avoid relationships, success, and growth that require worthiness. The mind doesn't fight for what it doesn't believe it deserves, and it doesn't protect what it doesn't believe it owns. This is why people repeat the same patterns. They chase a different life while holding the same identity. Real change requires upgrading the internal blueprint. One of the most transformative ways to shift self-image is through identity-based statements. Upgrade identity. I'm the type of person who... This phrasing bypasses the mind's resistance. It doesn't force you to pretend you're already perfect. Instead, it reinforces the type of person you are becoming through behavior. Examples. I'm the type of person who follows through. I'm the type of person who speaks with confidence. I'm the type of person who holds boundaries. I'm the type of person who stays disciplined. I'm the type of person who believes in myself. Identity-based statements reshape your subconscious by aligning actions with identity. When you tell yourself who you are becoming, your brain begins searching for ways to match that identity. This is how transformation begins, internally, subtly, consistently. Another powerful tool for raising your self-image is visualization. Visualize the confident version of yourself repeatedly. Visualization is not fantasy. It is mental rehearsal. The brain treats imagined experiences almost the same as real ones. When you repeatedly see yourself speaking clearly, walking confidently, handling challenges, succeeding in tasks, or standing strong, you train your nervous system to feel comfortable with that version of you. You become familiar with confidence before you demonstrate it. You become aligned with strength before you express it. You become comfortable with success before you achieve it. Visualization works because it rewires the self-image. You stop seeing yourself as the old version you've outgrown, and you begin to identify with the stronger version you're stepping into. This brings us to a crucial psychological truth. Identity shifts before behavior does. People try to change behavior without upgrading identity, and they fail. They try to act confident while still believing they are insecure. They try to be disciplined while still telling themselves they are inconsistent. They try to succeed while still believing they're unworthy. Behavior cannot outrun identity. Identity is the root. Behavior is the branch. If you want lasting confidence, you must first become the person internally that you want to act like externally. Identity creates behavior. Behavior creates results. Results reinforce identity. That loop must start with belief. Raising your self-image also requires treating yourself differently, with respect, intention, and care. Treat yourself as worthy. Your mind follows. Worthiness is not a feeling you wait for. It is an action you choose. You show worthiness by keeping promises to yourself, taking care of your body, honoring your goals, setting boundaries, dressing in a way that reflects your standards, speaking to yourself with respect, prioritizing your growth. When you treat yourself like someone valuable, your mind adapts. Self-worth becomes the default. Confidence becomes natural. This is how you slowly shift your identity into someone stronger, more grounded, and more self-assured. Raising your self-image is not about arrogance or pretending to be perfect. It's about allowing yourself to step into the strongest version of who you already are. When your self-image rises, your confidence rises. When your confidence rises, your actions rise. When your actions rise, your life rises. Your transformation begins when you stop seeing yourself as the old version and start seeing yourself as the person you are becoming. Identity first, confidence second, behavior third, results last. Raise your self-image, and everything else rises with it. Chapter 10. Removing the fear of judgment. People think about you far less than you believe. Fear of judgment is rooted in survival instinct, not reality. Build exposure to being seen. Speak up, show up, stand firm. Everyone has flaws. Confidence comes from owning them. Judgment loses power when you stop giving it importance. Fear of judgment is one of the most common emotional barriers in human psychology. It keeps people silent when they want to speak, hidden when they want to grow, and small when they want to stand tall. This fear doesn't just limit confidence. It rewrites your behavior, your identity, and your entire path. But like most fears, its power comes from illusion, not truth. Once you understand where this fear comes from and how to dismantle it, you unlock a level of confidence that is unshakable. The first truth to understand is freeing. People think about you far less than you believe. Humans are wired to be self-focused. Everyone is thinking about their own insecurities, their own flaws, their own goals, their own problems. But your mind, in moments of anxiety, tricks you into believing the spotlight is burning on you. This is called the spotlight effect, and it creates the illusion that everyone is watching, analyzing, or judging your every move. In reality, most people barely notice. They're too busy thinking about themselves. Your mistakes, awkward moments, or imperfections rarely stay in anyone's memory except your own. Understanding this truth instantly weakens the fear of judgment, because the audience you're afraid of doesn't really exist. This fear feels so intense because it is ancient. Fear of judgment is rooted in survival instinct, not reality. Thousands of years ago, being accepted by the group meant survival. Rejection meant danger. The human brain evolved to fear social disapproval because it once carried life or death consequences. But today, that fear is outdated. You won't lose your livelihood because someone dislikes your opinion. You won't be exiled because you made a mistake. Yet your brain still reacts as if judgment is a threat. Your fear is biological, not logical. Understanding this separates you from the fear. It stops controlling you. You see it as a leftover instinct, not a personal flaw. The fastest way to weaken this fear is through exposure. Build exposure to being seen. Speak up, show up, stand firm. The more you avoid judgment, the more powerful it becomes. But the more you expose yourself to situations where people might judge you, speaking up in a meeting, sharing your ideas, expressing your opinion, posting your work, making eye contact, walking into a room confidently, the more your brain learns. Nothing bad happens when I'm seen. Exposure turns the unfamiliar into familiar. What once triggered anxiety becomes normal. What once felt threatening becomes manageable. What once controlled you becomes something you control. It doesn't require grand gestures. Start small. Share your thoughts. Take up space in conversations. Admit mistakes without shrinking. Express your preferences. Allow yourself to be visible. Each moment of exposure rewires the fear. Every repetition signals safety. Over time, confidence replaces avoidance. Another powerful step is accepting imperfection. Everyone has flaws. Confidence comes from owning them. People don't admire perfection. They admire authenticity. Trying to hide your flaws only intensifies your fear of judgment. But when you own them, something shifts. You stop trying to control how people see you. You stop presenting a curated version of yourself. You become real, grounded, and emotionally solid. Confidence isn't the absence of flaws. It's the refusal to be ashamed of them. People who fear judgment believe they must appear flawless to be respected. Confident people know that flaws make them human, relatable, and courageous. When you stop hiding your imperfections, judgment loses its leverage. No one can use against you what you've already accepted within yourself. Ultimately, the key to defeating this fear is internal power. Judgment loses power when you stop giving it importance. Judgment only hurts when you attach meaning to it. If you interpret criticism as a verdict on your worth, it cuts deeply. But if you interpret it as noise, irrelevance, or projection, it loses its bite. You decide what someone's opinion means. You decide whether it enters your mind. You decide whether it shapes your identity. When you stop giving importance to judgment, you become untouchable. Not because people stop judging, but because you stop caring. You stop letting their thoughts influence your direction. You stop shrinking to fit expectations. You stop performing for approval. You start living freely, boldly, authentically. Fear of judgment is a cage, but the lock is inside you. Once you unlatch it, you discover a simple truth. People don't judge you as much as you think. Their opinions don't matter as much as you fear. And your confidence doesn't belong to them. It belongs to you. When you remove the fear of judgment, you don't just free your confidence. You free your entire life. Chapter 11. Emotional control equals confidence. Emotional stability builds trust in yourself. Panic, anger, overthinking weaken confidence instantly. Use breath work, grounding, and reframing to stay calm. Confidence thrives in regulated emotions. Calm is competence. Chaos is insecurity. Confidence is not just a mindset. It is an emotional state. It comes from the ability to stay steady, present, and composed even when life becomes difficult. At the heart of true self-belief is emotional control. If your emotions are unpredictable, your confidence becomes unpredictable. But when you learn to regulate your emotional responses, you build a deep and unshakable trust in yourself. This trust is crucial because emotional stability builds trust in yourself. When you can stay composed under pressure, handle stress with clarity, and respond instead of react, you signal to your mind, I can rely on myself. And self-trust is the foundation of confidence. Emotional control means you can navigate uncertainty without collapsing. It means you can make decisions without being hijacked by panic or fear. Emotional stability becomes a psychological anchor. It grounds you no matter what happens around you. On the flip side, losing emotional control erodes confidence quickly. Panic, anger, and overthinking weaken confidence instantly. Panic clouds judgment and convinces you that you're unsafe. Anger hijacks rational thinking and leads to poor decisions. Overthinking paralyzes action and makes you doubt your abilities. These emotional states are not signs of weakness. They are signs of dysregulation. The more your emotions overwhelm you, the less confidence you have in your ability to face challenges. It becomes harder to trust yourself when your inner world feels unstable. That's why confident people don't avoid emotions. They learn to manage them. Emotional regulation is a skill, and you strengthen it through simple but powerful techniques. Use breath work, grounding, and reframing to stay calm. Breath work, slow, controlled breathing calms your nervous system instantly. It signals safety to your brain, reduces tension in your body, and stops panic before it spirals. Even a few deep breaths can stabilize your emotional state and restore clarity. Grounding. Grounding techniques pull you out of the mental chaos and back into the present moment. Feeling your feet on the floor, noticing physical sensations, observing your surroundings. Chaos lives in your thoughts. Calm lives in your senses. Grounding shifts you from thinking to being. Reframing. Reframing means changing the interpretation of situation. Instead of "this is a disaster," you shift to "this is a challenge," or "I can handle this." Your thoughts are the lens through which you experience emotion. Change the lens, and the feeling changes. These tools don't eliminate emotion. They regulate it. And regulation is the root of emotional confidence. This is why confidence thrives in regulated emotions. Unregulated emotions make you reactive. Regulated emotions make you intentional. Unregulated emotions push you into fear. Regulated emotions keep you grounded. Unregulated emotions lead to regret. Regulated emotions lead to clarity. When you manage your emotional state, you show up with steadiness in your voice, precision in your decisions, and maturity in your presence. People trust you more, and more importantly, you trust yourself more. You stop fearing emotional storms because you know you can navigate them. At a deeper level, emotional regulation shapes how others perceive you. Calm is competence. Chaos is insecurity. When you stay calm in stressful situations, you project control. People instinctively see you as capable, reliable, and strong. Calmness signals mastery. It signals intelligence. It signals leadership. Chaos, on the other hand, emotional volatility, panic, impulsiveness, outbursts, signals a lack of inner stability. Even if you're talented, chaos makes you appear insecure because it shows that your emotions run you instead of you running them. Calmness is not passive. Calmness is power. Calmness is authority. Calmness is a psychological advantage. When your emotions are steady, you make better decisions, communicate more effectively, and move through life with intention. Confidence is no longer a temporary feeling. It becomes your default state. Emotional control gives you clarity under pressure, resilience in uncertainty, strength during conflict, groundedness during fear, authority in your presence, trust in your own abilities. You don't need to suppress emotions. You need to guide them. You don't need to feel confident all the time. You need to be emotionally steady enough to take action anyway. Master your emotions, and you master your confidence. Master your confidence, and you master your life. Emotional control is not just a skill. It is the engine behind unshakable confidence. Chapter 12. Building consistency. Confidence grows through repeated, disciplined effort. Keep small promises to yourself daily. Consistency builds self-respect, the foundation of confidence. Track your progress to reinforce identity. Consistency removes doubt and replaces it with certainty. Consistency is one of the most powerful confidence builders in human psychology. It is not glamorous, dramatic, or instantly rewarding, but it is transformative. Confidence doesn't come from occasional greatness. It comes from repeated, disciplined effort that proves to your mind, again and again, that you can depend on yourself. The more consistent you are, the stronger your sense of self-belief becomes. Inconsistency creates doubt. Consistency creates certainty. That's why confidence grows through repeated, disciplined effort. Every time you show up, even when you don't feel like it, you strengthen the belief. I can rely on myself. Discipline is not about pushing yourself to extremes. It's about showing up repeatedly in small, sustainable ways. Consistency trains your brain to recognize your own capability. It builds a track record. It creates patterns, and patterns become identity. This is why your confidence rises and falls depending on how consistent you've been. When you stop showing up, doubt creeps back in. When you show up repeatedly, confidence becomes automatic. The foundation of consistency is simple yet powerful. Keep small promises to yourself daily. Huge goals are inspiring, but they often overwhelm you and trigger procrastination. Small promises, 5 minutes of exercise, 1 page of reading, 1 small task completed, 1 moment of courage, are achievable. And achievable actions create momentum. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen self-trust. Every time you break a promise, you weaken it. These small promises accumulate into a deep sense of reliability within yourself. And that reliability becomes confidence. Confidence is not built from the size of your actions. It's built from the regularity of them. A small promise kept is more powerful than a huge effort done once. This is why consistency builds self-respect, the foundation of confidence. You can't be confident if you don't respect yourself. Self-respect comes from honoring your commitments. It comes from following through on your intentions. It comes from acting in alignment with who you want to be. When you show up for yourself consistently, you send a message to your mind. I deserve effort. I deserve discipline. I deserve growth. This is how self-respect is formed, not through words, but through action. And the more self-respect you build, the more confidence rises naturally. To reinforce this consistency, one habit becomes incredibly powerful. Track your progress to reinforce identity. Progress tracking isn't about perfection. It's about visibility. When you track your habits, your effort, your accomplishments, you create proof of who you're becoming. You have physical evidence that you are consistent, disciplined, and growing. Tracking builds identity because it turns abstract effort into something you can see. It gives you momentum, clarity, and motivation. It shows you patterns you never noticed. It reminds you that even on the days you doubted yourself, you still showed up. When you see progress, you believe in yourself more deeply. When you believe in yourself, you act with more confidence. When you act with confidence, your consistency becomes stronger. This loop reinforces itself. Identity, action, evidence, identity. The ultimate benefit of consistency is psychological. Consistency removes doubt and replaces it with certainty. Doubt grows in the absence of proof. Confidence grows in the presence of proof. Consistency gives you that proof. It proves that you can follow through. It proves that you can grow. It proves that you're capable. It proves that you have discipline. This certainty becomes emotional stability. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop feeling like an imposter. You stop fearing failure. You stop questioning your ability to reach your goals. Consistency becomes a quiet, powerful force that grounds you in who you are and who you're becoming. Consistency also simplifies life. You no longer rely on motivation, emotion, or inspiration. You rely on rhythm, routine, and discipline. This creates a calm confidence, the kind that doesn't shake easily because it's built on repeated action, not fleeting feeling. When you build consistency, your identity strengthens. Your confidence stabilizes. Your self-respect grows. Your discipline sharpens. Your emotional resilience increases. Your doubt fades. Your goals become achievable. Confidence is not a mystery. It's not luck. It's not a sudden moment of inspiration. Confidence is the result of consistency. Every small action you repeat becomes a psychological investment in your future self. Every promise you keep becomes an anchor of self-belief. Every day you show up becomes another brick in the foundation of unstoppable confidence. Consistency doesn't just build success. It builds the identity of someone who succeeds. Chapter 13. Surrounding yourself with confidence builders. Your environment influences your psychology. Limit time around negative, insecure, jealous people. Spend time around confident, disciplined, focused individuals. Energy is contagious. Choose the right influences. A strong environment accelerates inner strength. Confidence is not built in isolation. It is shaped, strengthened, or weakened by the people you allow into your life. Your environment, the people you talk to, the attitudes you absorb, the energy you're surrounded by, silently influences your psychology every single day. You could be disciplined, motivated, and focused, but if your environment contradicts the identity you're trying to build, your confidence will always feel shaky. The company you keep either supports your growth or sabotages it. This is why your environment influences your psychology more than you realize. Humans are social creatures. We mirror the moods, beliefs, and behaviors of the people around us. If you spend time with fearful people, fear spreads into you. If you live around complainers, negativity becomes natural. If you constantly encounter doubt, your mind begins doubting too. Your brain absorbs energy the way your lungs absorb air, unconsciously and constantly. You may think you're strong enough to rise above others' negativity, but psychology shows otherwise. Environment often shapes mindset more than willpower does. That's why changing your environment is one of the fastest ways to change your confidence. The next step is crucial. Limit time around negative, insecure, jealous people. These people may not mean harm, but their emotional patterns drain your strength. Negative people make everything feel heavy. Insecure people project their fears onto you. Jealous people subtly sabotage your progress. Bitter people hate seeing others grow. Fearful people talk you out of opportunities. Judgmental people destroy your self-expression. The wrong environment keeps you small. It kills confidence slowly. Not through attack, but through corrosion. You shrink to avoid conflict. You silence yourself to avoid judgment. You start doubting yourself because everyone around you doubts everything. Limiting time with such people isn't cruelty, it's self-protection. Confidence requires psychological safety. You cannot grow in a room that suffocates you. You cannot rise when surrounded by people committed to staying low. But the solution is not only about avoidance. It's also about alignment. Spend time around confident, disciplined, focused individuals. These people elevate you simply by existing. Their conversations push you further. Their habits inspire you. Their mindset becomes a blueprint for what's possible. Confident people don't judge you. They encourage you. Disciplined people don't distract you. They sharpen you. Focused people don't drain your energy, they amplify it. When you surround yourself with individuals who respect themselves, you start to respect yourself more. When you're around people who are chasing goals, you naturally become more ambitious. When you observe people taking action, confidence becomes normal. Your environment becomes a mirror. Be around winners, you start winning. Be around quitters, you start quitting. Be around growth, you start growing. This is the power of influence. Because the truth is simple. Energy is contagious. Choose the right influences. If you soak in doubt long enough, you will doubt yourself. If you soak in courage long enough, you will become courageous. If you soak in negativity long enough, you will see the world negatively. If you soak in confidence long enough, you will embody that confidence. People's energy transfers. Their beliefs slip into your subconscious. Their attitudes shape your emotional tone. Their habits either lift or lower your standards. The right energy pushes you upward. The wrong energy drags you downward. Confidence thrives when surrounded by stability, support, ambition, and integrity. And this leads to the final truth. A strong environment accelerates inner strength. Your confidence grows faster when your surroundings reinforce it. Your discipline becomes easier when others around you are disciplined. Your goals feel more achievable when others are also growing. Your self-respect rises when people treat you with respect. Growth becomes natural, not forced, when your environment aligns with your aspirations. A strong environment becomes a psychological foundation that supports your inner evolution, helping you silence doubt, take risks, stay consistent, push yourself, believe more deeply in your potential. Confidence is not built alone. It is built through connection, energy, influence, and environment. Choose people who challenge you, support you, inspire you, energize you, encourage your growth. Release those who make you smaller, weaker, or more doubtful. Walk toward those who help you rise. Surround yourself with confidence builders, and your inner power will grow faster than you ever imagined. Chapter 14. Taking responsibility for your life. Responsibility equals control. Blame equals weakness. Own your choices, failures, habits, and direction. Responsibility gives you power to change your story. Confident people live from ownership, not excuses. The moment you take responsibility, your life shifts. Taking responsibility is one of the most defining traits of genuinely confident people. It is the moment you stop waiting, stop blaming, stop excusing, and start owning your life fully. Responsibility is not a burden, it is liberation. It is the doorway to personal power. When you take responsibility, you reclaim control over your outcomes, emotions, and direction. When you avoid responsibility, you hand over your power to circumstances, opinions, and excuses. This is why responsibility equals control, blame equals weakness. When you blame other people, the past, luck, the economy, your parents, or your circumstances for where you are saying, I am powerless. I cannot change my outcome. I'm a passenger, not the driver. Blame may feel comforting in the moment, but it keeps you emotionally weak. It keeps you stuck because you can't change what you refuse to own. Responsibility, on the other hand, says, I have the power to change this. I am in control of my response. I can shape what happens next. This shift from blame to ownership is the foundation of confidence. When you take responsibility, you step into the role of creator, not victim. You begin to see life as something you can influence, not something that simply happens to you. That's why it is essential to own your choices, failures, habits, and direction. Everything in your life today, your routines, your behaviors, your results, your environment stems from choices, whether conscious or unconscious. When you take responsibility for those choices, you regain the ability to make new ones. Owning your choices means acknowledging the decisions, big and small, that shaped your current reality. Owning your failures means learning from them, not hiding from them. Owning your habits means recognizing the small daily actions that either build you or slowly sabotage you. Owning your direction means taking control of your future instead of drifting. When you refuse to own these things, you stay stuck. When you claim ownership, you unlock growth. Because responsibility gives you power to change your story. If your life is someone else's fault, someone else must fix it. But when your life is your responsibility, you can fix it. That is where real power lies. Responsibility doesn't blame you, it empowers you. It says, you have the ability to create a different outcome. You have the strength to rewrite your story. You are capable of becoming someone stronger. Responsibility is the spark that ignites transformation. It turns frustration into action. It turns helplessness into courage. It turns excuses into progress. You cannot build confidence from a place of helplessness. You build it from a place of ownership. This is why confident people live from ownership, not excuses. Excuses weaken your identity. They convince you that you are incapable. They create emotional dependency on external factors. Confident people refuse to hide behind excuses because they understand that every excuse is a surrender of power. Ownership sounds like, I didn't handle that well. Next time, I'll do better. I need to improve this habit. I created this situation, and I can change it. I choose my actions. I take responsibility for my path. Excuses sound like, I can't because it's not my fault. Someone else should fix this. This always happens to me. The difference between these two mindsets determines the difference between stagnation and growth. Confidence thrives where excuses die. And the ultimate truth of this chapter is this. The moment you take responsibility, your life shifts. Not next month, not next year, not when everything is perfect. The shift happens instantly, the moment you choose responsibility over blame. You become stronger because you no longer feel like life is happening to you. You become clearer because you start making intentional decisions. You become more confident because you trust your ability to shape your future. You become more resilient because you stop collapsing under difficulty. You become more disciplined because your identity grows. Responsibility is not just an action. It is an identity. It says, I am someone who shows up. It says, I take ownership of my life. It says, I trust myself to change what I can. The moment you embrace responsibility, you unlock the ability to change your habits, your mindset, your environment, your results, and ultimately, the course of your entire life. Responsibility is power. Ownership is confidence. And confidence begins the moment you say, my life is my responsibility. Chapter 15. Becoming unstoppable, living with unbreakable confidence. True confidence is internal. It doesn't depend on results. You face challenges with calm certainty. You trust yourself to adapt, overcome, and grow. Confidence becomes identity, not effort. When you know who you are, nothing can shake you. Unbreakable confidence is not loud. It is not aggressive. It is not showy. It is not the type of confidence that needs applause, validation, or attention. Unbreakable confidence is quiet, steady, grounded, and deeply internal. It exists beneath the surface, in your mindset, your identity, your emotional foundation. It is the type of confidence that lasts, because it is built on who you are, not what you achieve. This is why true confidence is internal. It doesn't depend on results. Most people tie their confidence to outcomes, winning, being praised, succeeding, or being admired. But this kind of confidence collapses the moment something goes wrong. You can't build an unbreakable mindset on something as unpredictable as results. Real confidence comes from knowing that, regardless of the outcome, you can handle whatever happens. When your confidence is internal, you don't need things to go perfectly. You don't fear mistakes. You don't crumble when plans shift. You stay centered because your belief in yourself doesn't change with circumstances. Internal confidence says, I trust myself even when things don't work out. I don't need perfection to feel strong. I am capable regardless of temporary setbacks. This inner steadiness is what makes you unstoppable. As this internal confidence grows, you face challenges with calm certainty. Challenges no longer trigger panic. They trigger awareness. You become less reactive and more strategic. Instead of feeling overwhelmed, you think clearly. Instead of spiraling mentally, you breathe, assess, and act. Calm confidence doesn't mean the absence of fear. It means the ability to move forward even with fear present. This calm certainty comes from one fundamental belief. You trust yourself to adapt, overcome, and grow. This is the essence of unshakable confidence. You stop expecting life to be easy. You stop expecting everything to go your way. Instead, you trust your resilience. You trust your ability to learn. You trust your ability to solve problems. You trust your ability to rebuild. You trust yourself more than you trust comfort. When you trust your adaptability, challenges stop looking like threats and start looking like invitations. Opportunities to grow, strengthen, and expand your identity. Failure becomes training. Pressure becomes sharpening. Hardship becomes evolution. Over time, something powerful happens. Confidence becomes identity, not effort. You no longer try to act confident. You no longer force yourself to think a certain way. You no longer rely on hype, motivation, or validation. You become confidence. It becomes part of your internal wiring, the default setting of your mind. You begin to speak differently, move differently, think differently, and carry yourself differently. It stops being something you perform and becomes something you embody. You don't wake up wondering whether you feel confident. You wake up knowing who you are. And that brings us to the final truth of unbreakable confidence. When you know who you are, nothing can shake you. Not rejection, not failure, not criticism, not uncertainty, not difficulty, not other people's opinions. Because confidence rooted in identity cannot be taken away by external events. When you know your strengths, your values, your vision, and your inner power, the world can push you, but it cannot break you. You stop bending for approval. You stop shrinking for acceptance. You stop fearing judgment. You stop doubting your worth. You become grounded. You become self-led. You become emotionally stable. You become resilient. You become unstoppable. This is unbreakable confidence. The deep inner calm that stays even in chaos. The trust in yourself even when outcomes are uncertain. The inner strength that doesn't depend on praise. The identity that grows through every challenge. The stability that cannot be moved by external noise. Unbreakable confidence is not built in one moment. It is built through all the work you've done in previous chapters. Rewiring beliefs, regulating emotions, embracing failure, taking responsibility, showing consistency, surrounding yourself with strength, and raising your identity. Together, these become the foundation of a person who cannot be shaken. Unbreakable confidence is who you become when you stop performing for the world and start believing in yourself fully. When you know who you are, the world can never tell you who you're not. Confidence isn't built in a day. It's built in small decisions, daily actions, and repeated moments of courage. You've learned how beliefs shape identity, how thoughts influence behavior, how action creates self-trust, and how emotional mastery strengthens your inner foundation. Confidence is not loud. It's not arrogance. Confidence is quiet self-assurance. The steady belief that says, whatever comes, I can handle it. Walk forward with that truth. Build it every day. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to trust yourself a little more than you doubt yourself. Let this audiobook be the beginning of your unshakable confidence. The version of you that stands taller, speaks clearer, moves braver, and believes deeper. Because when you believe in yourself, the world learns to believe in you too.